From the University of Alaska Anchorage, this is Seawolf Voices, a podcast about the pathways to and from education. I'm your host, Matt Jardin. Anyone can put on the coat, hat, and beard and call themselves Santa Claus, but few embody the spirit of Father Christmas as perfectly as professional piloting alumnus Dan Bale, an Alaska bush pilot who has logged more than 20,000 flight hours over the course of his 50-year career. During the winter, he is more affectionately known as Santa Dan. Now in his 17th year, Santa Dan is available for photos with kids and even dogs at the Midtown Mall in Anchorage, Wednesdays through Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Sundays from noon to 6 p.m. In this episode, Dan talks about his childhood watching planes take off from the New Orleans airport runway, why you need a strong poker face when playing with children, and recounts a lovely Christmas story that perfectly encapsulates his role as a pilot and a Santa. Santa Dan Bale, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Hey, good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
This is basically your last week before suiting up as Santa for the Christmas season. So what do you do to prepare every year?
Every year, I actually start growing my beard longer in July, and I have a favorite hairstylist that sets my Santa hair. That was about 2 weeks ago. And other than that, it's just such a fun time that it makes me smile. I have this suit, this really nice suit that was custom made. It's wool and it's a real coat, and I have to get everything out and, fluff it up nicely and clean it up every year. There's a little prep. It's not a lot. And then I end up with a whole bunch of posters. I spread them out. And this year I managed to go to, there's 18 veterinary clinics in Alaska, in Anchorage. And I got posters in every one of them. And as I handed them the posters, I said, and bring the dog. And they go, you can bring the dog? I said, yes, bring the dog. They're family, bring the dog. So that's part of my prep, It's just letting people know that Santa is once again there at the Midtown Mall and ready to have a good time and take great pictures.
So how did you become Santa Claus?
Well, my living, which I worked out through UAA in the professional pilot degree, was flying airplanes. Mm-hmm. And my love of airplanes happened to be float planes. I have over 12,000 hours of flying float planes. Well, this time of year is not much use of flying float planes. It's kind of hard on the water. So I needed something to do in the winter. And there was a lot of years I did a variety of other things, but as I matured, got older, I kind of grew into this position. The beard turned gray, the hair turned gray, and I kind of looked like a bus driver. So it just kind of evolved. I needed something to do in the winter. And it's taken me a little while to get it to work well, but it's worked well for a number of years now. This is year 17 being Santa.
Oh, man.
And it's such a fun job.
Mm-hmm.
I had another flying job that I did in the winter on occasion. It was off the South Air Park, flying pressurized twin turboprops. And, I could get to Seattle in about 3.5 hours with things. They're little hot rods. I used to go up back and forth to the North Slope. If you're going to Barrow, it's the old name, and leaving Anchorage, and you filed a direct on the GPS, it goes right up over the top of McKinley. You look down from 27,000 feet at the top of McKinley on the way by. It was such a fun job. But in early November, I'd start telling the boss, I says, hey, you can't call me until January. And he goes, huh? I said, nope, Santa season's coming. I'll be busy all day. And he'd always look at me and say, well, you can fly at night, right?
With Rudolph, yeah.
Yeah, well, sure. It's always fun. But, the Santa season has been something I thoroughly enjoy. Makes Christmas go by way too fast.
You have to have a winter activity if you're going to survive in Alaska. So,
Well, there's, as a young man, I skied. I skied for Alaska Methodist University on their first intercollegiate ski team. We were on skis 7 days a week over at AMU, which is now APU.
Alaska Pacific University.
We had a great time, and I skied. I'm amazed I still have knees. But they work good. Come sit on my knee. We'll take a picture.
So you actually beat me to it. But so when you're not flying around in a sleigh, you are flying around in a plane. So what inspired you to want to become a pilot?
I always enjoyed airplanes. As a kid, I can remember living in New Orleans when I think I moved here when I was 15, but I could ride my bicycle over to the airport and watch the brand new 707s take off, and I could sit right at the end of the runway. They didn't have fences. Then, boy, those things were loud and smoky. But things have improved from that point, and I built model airplanes, the wooden ones, the rubber band powered ones, the little motor powered ones, and finally got into the radio controlled ones and said, well, shoot, I know how this works. I should go learn how to do it. And I did. And I did it through UAA.
That's actually a perfect segue. So to become a pilot, you earned your associates in professional piloting at UAA. Was there anything in particular that led you to UAA? I know that you said you spent some time at Alaska Methodist, which is Alaska Pacific University, but how did you end up at UAA?
I spent a semester at APU, and then Uncle Sam got me for a little while in the Navy. And when I came back, I was ready to do the flying, and I signed up, and I think I got my original licenses in 74, and I got most of my degree in 74, and I didn't finish it until 91. I went to work. I was flying airplanes, But I do have a degree, and I got it with honors, and I've always appreciated the fact that this university allowed me to actually enjoy a living. If you can find a thing you do to work and enjoy, you'll never be going to work. You're always going to have fun. And I had fun. I loved flying little airplanes.
Are there any experiences or lessons from your time in school or at UAA that stick with you today?
I believe in school. Everything from kindergarten through college. And if you want to enjoy a good life, the bottom line is you got to be smart enough to do it. If you can't apply yourself in school and learn things well, then you're just shooting yourself in the foot. Go for it. Jump in with both feet. Pay attention. And don't just do the minimum. Do some extra. Learn what you like. If you like cooking, there's a real good cooking program here. If you like flying, this flying program is top notch. If you like engineering, there's some engineering in this school. It's really good. But don't just be a mediocre engineer. Don't be a mediocre pilot. Be a great one. And study, learn. I think my success as a pilot was the fact that I intentionally tried to do the best I could when I was learning. And the things I learned kept me alive. I learned well. I almost had straight A's. Almost. That darn creative writing instructor. I mean, I can get A's in a 6-credit math course. I couldn't get an A in a creative writing. But that's all right. Do your best. Be the best. Don't settle for second or third. Try for first all the time. If you can do your job to the best of your ability, you'll be an asset to whoever you're working for. And that's what they want. And if you can't provide it, you're just doing yourself, like I say, you can shoot yourself in the foot all you want. It doesn't help. Try hard. Be the best. And do something you love.
So last time you and I spoke was in 2018, and back then you told me a story that I think perfectly encapsulates your identities as both a pilot and as Santa Claus. And I don't know if you remember, but it was a Thanksgiving story in an Octopuck Pass, I believe, and I was wondering if you could recount it here for our listeners. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I do. I even have pictures on my phone of that. But it was just before Thanksgiving, and the folks in Anchorage Pass, which is on the pipeline, it's a pump station, but it's a native village. The caribou hadn't come through, so they were facing Thanksgiving with having to eat turkey, which they
How do
weren't
you do
really
that? Yeah.
they weren't really happy about that. So they talked to the folks in Nuiqsut, and they offered caribou and some fish. So they hired me. Well, they hired this company I was working for, and I got in that twin-engine turboprop and went to Nuiqsut in my Santa suit. So there I am at Nuiqsut. I'm loading buckets of fish, frozen, and some non-flying reindeer up into the airplane, and fired it up and went back down to Anchorage Pass. And golly, it was about noon when I was unloading, but the sun wasn't even over the horizon. It's so far north. So I unloaded all those fish and non-flying reindeer, and Anchorage Pass made a whole bunch of folks really happy they didn't have to eat turkey. And then I flew home empty. It was fun, and the Christmas spirit is alive and kicking.
What are some of the most important tips that you have when it comes to becoming Santa Claus?
The biggest thing about being Santa is you really have to like kids. And I think you have to be a little ornery, because along the way you're pulling the wool over their eyes, which is, it's okay, and it's fun, and they try and pull the wool over your eyes too. I had a young lady, probably about 7, a couple of years ago. I had a sleigh set for the COVID time, and she climbs up in the sleigh and turns around on the front seat and looks me right in the eye and says, "What's my name, Santa?" Well, you got a couple of choices. It's kind of like poker, you can fold right there and you lost, or you can call and just ask different questions, or you can go all in. I went all in. Dang. I sat back and looked her in the eye for a minute, and I got up close to her face again and looked her in the eye, and I said, "George." Well, George was my nickname as a kid. My dad called me that. So I just pulled it out of the sky. George. And she still looked at me in the eye and goes, "No, Santa, what's my first name?" Her mom's standing there next to the sleigh with her jaw hanging down, because that was their last name.
Yeah.
But the young lady, it just went right past her. "What's my first name, Santa?"
I mean, the last name was quite the guess. So, I like your odds. We actually have to play real poker one of these days. Go to Vegas together.
Yeah, you just and you get a lot of questions that are similar. What's my name? What do I want for Christmas? Have I been good? It's fun.
What is your favorite part of being Santa?
My favorite part is the smiles I put on people's face. And that's what we're there for. Christmas has a reason and a season, and it should be good tidings and fun and smiles. It can't always be that way, but that's what I strive for. I try to make people smile.
What does this time of year, what does this season, what does Christmas mean?
Christmas is a new beginning. The shortest day of the year is the 22nd. So by Christmas, the days are actually getting longer. It's the change. The darkest days are gone. The brighter days are coming. There's a variety of reasons that Christmas might be there on that specific day. The reality is, it's the change of the season. The earth turns. It's coming back. Shoot, next fall, I bet we get salmon coming up the stream, too.
What does it mean to be naughty or nice?
Oh, well, for kids, it's really difficult to be both. They try so hard to be good, and then they turn around, and if they got siblings, and all of a sudden it's naughty again. But that's kids, and they grow, and that's a part of growing. So naughty, as far as Santa is concerned, probably is not a very common list to be on. It's whether you try, and most kids try. But the circumstance, and maybe he's hungry and grumpy today. Who knows? But kids are fun. That's all I can say.
So Santa Dan, thank you so much for coming on the show. I just have one request before I let you go. Can I hear one of your iconic Santa laughs?
Well, that's a good request. Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much, Santa Dan.
You're so welcome. It's a pleasure.
Seawolf Voices is a production of the University of Alaska Anchorage Office of Advancement and Alumni Relations.